Hello, I'm Raul, and we're here in Las Vegas with Suzy Stiletto Quinn, and we're preparing her for her upcoming match in the LFC. Okay, so I've been here in Las Vegas for this past week, and I've been training here with Suzy Stiletto Quinn for her upcoming LFC match, which will take place in Sturgis, right in the
next week.
Yes.
August 11, that's Tuesday, August 11, and it's going to start at 6 p.m. Sturgis time.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I mean, that's like a mega like motorcycle festival. So a lot of people do this really cool road trip. And so Suzy here is going to be part of the big LFC show that they're going to have to entertain all the people that go there. Right, so we kind of want you to know more about Suzy here, right? So Suzy actually has like a long background in all types of athletics. So can you kind of tell us like a little bit about all like the wide variety? It's like it'd be like a whole half hour.
Oh
if you just
yeah,
told us, right?
oh yeah. I have a pretty layered experience with all sorts of background in sports and competitive sports too. From a kid, I mean like 5 years old, starting in gymnastics to all the sports you play growing up, like baseball, track, running, hurdles, then kickboxing. I actually did a lot of like competitive kickboxing. After that, I was really into the fitness and figure, like the pro NPC circuit, competing on like an amateur and then the semi-qualifying pro level. Won the Miss Michigan, won every show I did in the NPC, like all four of them, all four in a row, which was pretty unprecedented. I really loved it, but then I wanted to take it into not just that type of competitive, but then competing with myself, trying to like learn all sorts of sports activities. I really like challenging myself. So then I decided to take my love of competing and my love of sports and entertainment and kind of got into the sports entertainment industry. Yeah. So what you know about.
Yeah, you're doing some pro wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, developmental for like down where Deep South Wrestling is out of Atlanta area. So wrestled with some of the developmental WWE people down there. Lots of great personalities. So I wrestled there for a while.
Yeah, and so while like
GCW champion, women's champion for GCW, which is the state, so Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, so I kind of want to talk about that too, where it's like, so even though pro wrestling isn't exactly catch wrestling, I think it still prepares you like to move around for combat sports, right? I mean, what do you think?
Right, and that's why I actually reached out to find like the best head coach ever, because when you're branching off from like more of a sports entertainment aspect of wrestling into like more technical type wrestling where you want to learn the actual like techniques and moves, and you want to mix that, like you want to fuse that in because that's a part of mixed martial arts. And then I have a little bit of Muay Thai experience background with MMA. So I feel like it's a good fusion and it's a good complement just as an athlete to be able to be that diverse with my skills.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so do you feel like us training together for all this time now, I mean, do you feel like that's kind of helped you kind of make that bridge, but then also like what we're learning kind of like, do you feel like it help you get the edge in MMA over your opponent?
Oh yeah, oh yes, because my opponent doesn't have the specialty or the techniques for catch wrestling. She actually doesn't even know what catch wrestling seems to be. So I will be showing her, Brooke, I will be showing you at Sturgis exactly what it's going to be like.
Right. Yeah. So hopefully you can see her match in the LFC. So it is MMA, and so it's just a little bit modified. So that's what we're working on their rules. But ultimately, she's going to be ready, and the styles and stuff that we're teaching are really going to help just get her the edge overall in LFC or whatever type of MMA, or even like a grappling kind of, whatever she wants to do in the future. And speaking of the future, is there anything kind of beyond LFC, or are you kind of just focusing on that right now?
Well, right now I'm focusing on the LFC for my MMA fight because it's going to be competitive and it's going to be intense. After that, I think I'm going to do more with some other kinds of like promotions related to that, and probably more LFC too. You know, in the future. So I know I have a couple of other things happening too, related to Sturgis, so that I can bring a lot of athleticism to other kinds of events. So
Yeah. And so the other thing, so we kind of want you guys. Okay, Suzy here is a very special athlete. She's also extremely smart, and so we kind of want to let you know that there's quite a lot to her. So with that being said, do you feel like so basically you can, with what you're learning now, I mean, you can really apply that to all types of even like academic type endeavors as well, right? Like the whole mindset of like an athlete, right?
Well, just the mindset of life in general, being able to use these kinds of skills. And I also do, little known fact, a lot of people don't know about me. Most people are focused on the MMA right now. Is I also do a lot of like extreme training, like high altitude conditioning and training. And I go to very high altitude places in like South America, Central America, all over the world. I actually do like extreme travel adventures, like trekking, rock climbing, crazy, like a lot of high altitude.
Yes. So that's the thing you'll see.
So it's a very helpful like skills to have, especially with just understanding how your body works and how you can manipulate your body to like, you know, move to help you with whatever kind of situations that life's going to throw at you, or some of the crazy extreme travel adventures that I go on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like here in the United States, that's why you'll have some athletes that'll go maybe to Colorado, or a city that like
which I've done.
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, so people can kind of get used to this high altitude. I think, speaking of MMA, I mean, Mexico City is a high altitude city. UFC had an event there quite a few years back, and I think maybe, I don't know, I'm pretty sure they haven't had one there since, but if you look at that card, right, a lot of these fighters, they gassed out so fast. And this was another thing that people should have learned, or like, this became like a big thing amongst athletes when they had the Olympics in Mexico City, you know, decades ago. But that's the thing, it's like if you're not ready for this high altitude where it's like you can think just the air is thinner.
It's extremely thin. It's extreme, like it's a type of conditioning. And so you need to be very comfortable with, like I said, with the techniques, especially with like catch wrestling. It's something where you can work with your body and you learn different things your body can do, and you can apply that to everything. So because like high altitude, especially like when I was in Ecuador a few times, I mean the altitude is so high, it's like breathing through a straw in and out, and it doesn't stop. And then try training while you're breathing in and out through a straw. So you have to really use those kinds of skills to still perform at like your peak. So.
Is there any experience doing these like high altitude things that like you can share that's like really like just super cool?
Most of them are on my Instagram. Some of the crazy things that I've done, but I've trekked across the Andes mountain chain, did some canyoning and climbing through like waterfalls, which is it's very tricky, like in the Amazon. Wow, I've done rock climbing in Colorado, in the Garden of the Gods. It's all sorts of things, though, where you have to apply.
Yeah. So speaking of the Amazon, though, since everything there is trying to kill you, I mean, how did you...
Pretty much.
How did you stay alive? Or what kind of tips do they tell you so that you don't get eaten up by anything?
Develop a very keen awareness of yourself, your body, what you're doing, and your surroundings, and have good reflexes.
And that's all stuff you can apply to combat sports as well.
Oh yeah, but having that when you're in a real world situation like that, I think it really helps. So.
Awesome. So you mentioned your Instagram. What is the actual handle for it?
So it'll probably be across the screen anyway on this for the interview, but it's at girl.gone.gypsy. So it's Girl Gone Gypsy. So.
Yeah, and we'll be working on her YouTube channel, right? So we don't have a name for that yet, but
it's going to be up soon.
Yes.
It's in the developmental process as we speak.
Yes.
So stay tuned on my Instagram, and it will be published shortly.
Yes, very shortly. And so for the time being, though, we're going to shoot some extra content that will be for members only of this YouTube channel. So consider becoming a member, because we'd love to share with you all this extra stuff. So not just with Suzy, we have a bunch of different seminars and there's some really cool historic stuff that we did in different locations, like even in the home of Frank Gotch in Iowa. You can see all the types of stuff that we got. So consider becoming a member, and we'll have all this cool content for you. More stuff with Suzy after this.